Hello guys! This Russian war in Ukraine has debunked a lot of myths about Russia. Well, for example, now everyone sees that Russian army is not the second strongest army in the world, but perhaps the second strongest army in Ukraine. But there is one more myth that needs to be debunked, and that is how monolithic Russian army is. Not at all. My name is Anna and I vlog daily from Ukraine since the start of the brutal Russian invasion. So if you're new to the channel, you support Ukraine, please subscribe and help us fight informational war. And long-time friends, please check your subscription status, hit notification button, and yes, we have trolls in comments, some comments disappear, but united we stand. As a Ukrainian, I feel very much worried that an important piece of information lacks from English-speaking media. I have never come across articles that describe conflicts and problems inside Russian army, and I have this suspicion that many of you can imagine it as something monolithic, something very Russian, which is totally wrong. Putin, together with his plans to erase Ukrainian nation, want to use this war to erase other nations that are temporarily occupied within the Federation. The majority of Russian soldiers who are mobilized to meet grinders in Ukraine come from faraway regions, from depressive regions of Russia, but most commonly from Siberia and Caucasus. And if you look attentively both at these people, their traditions, and even at the history of their republics, you will clearly see they are not Russians, they cannot belong to the Ruski Mir doctrine, and Putin also uses this war to kill them out. Think about 1939. Does it remind you of something? So we do have to stop Russia. Share, subscribe, like, and help us finish this very dangerous regime. So, for example, many of you know about awful crimes committed by Russian troops in Bucha, Irpin. We were all terrified when we saw what they did there. But then Ukrainian soldiers were capturing some of the retreating troops, and their soldiers did not speak Russian. They could not understand Russian. The majority of them were Buryats. Buryatia is really close to Mongolia. It is a small republic. People, of course, they are not classical Russians as Russians describe themselves. They practice Buddhism. They speak language, Buryat language, which is close to Mongolian language. And of course, they are not what Russia sees as Ruski Mir representatives. And Russia sends them in thousands to die in Ukraine. A reminder, the population of Buryatia is 500,000, and I think 12,000 of them died in Ukraine. The graveyards are terrifying there in Buryatia. There are lots of photos of these people who died in Ukraine. And what is more important, many of them try to escape mobilization. They hide in Mongolia and then immigrate to the United States of America. Another big group of nationalities that Russia mobilizes and thus tries to kill them is Northern Caucasus, like Chechnya, Ichkeria, Dagestan. Russia traditionally has wars and conflicts in these zones, and by killing their young men, it tries to solve any future conflicts. So look at that, and once again, doesn't that remind you 1939? Because YouTube is very sensitive, it sneezes when you pronounce really bad words, and honestly, I feel very depressed about comments that disappear or words that are forbidden when these words clearly describe our reality. So we have to stay strong and support each other, because I don't want to live in the Big Brother reality. For example, Chechen soldiers, they perform a totally different function inside Russian army. Very often they shoot the wounded, not to take care of them, not to cause problems, and they think that Russians might feel bad, and Chechen are stronger in that, and thus they provoke these Chechen people to do the worst. And also there are lots of conflicts between Chechen and Buryat. There are numbers of shootings. They had serious troubles close to Vuhledar, and there are lots of records of them like killing each other. There is a dark joke that if you do not interfere, there is a likelihood that Russian soldiers will kill each other. So like a nice option, but unfortunately we don't have that much time. So mainly they mobilize people from Siberia, from Far East, and thus they first of all take them from very depressive regions where they don't have salaries, where the family is happy that he is sent to die in Ukraine because at least a couple of months he will send them high salary, and then they will get Lada. And anyway, he would die because of alcoholism, so they don't mind that. It's terrifying, so there is no way to expect they will somehow react, but it is actually awful what is happening right now inside Russia and inside their army. And I think we cannot expect anything normal to happen within Russia so that maybe this war will stop. No. And another crime that is very vivid, and I don't see people abroad, global leaders speak about that, how they mobilized prisoners. It was obvious they simply utilized them. They were sent to the worst locations, they were not supplied the way they need, families lost contact, and they will never be found. And I'm sure that when we count this 300,000 of dead invaders, we don't even count the prisoners because I'm not sure they were enlisted properly. And when there are people who say we are tired of helping Ukraine, come on, think about what Russia does. Don't help Ukraine, stop Russia, punish Russia, do something to Russia, because now it's just another North Korea. Do we need the largest country in the world to be North Korea? So the best option is the collapse of Russia. Don't be afraid of that. Let me know, would you like to see a video on that? There are many things that I'm ready to say. So I would like to sum it all up. We know a lot about the crimes of Russian soldiers in Ukraine, how they looted, how they raped, tortured, executed children, how they destroyed civilian objects. And, you know, I even saw one photo of a Russian vehicle with a text on it. If you enjoyed it, then it is not a war crime. And you tell me, be positive, try to look for good Russians. As one of my beautiful subscribers wrote in his letter, it may be that Russian environment is so toxic that good people are extinct. And I doubt we can reintroduce them. So a part of these crimes that Russian army commits, there are lots of crimes committed inside Russian army. Of course, corruption, of course, they don't care about the supplies of their people. They lack everything. They provide them with outdated stuff. They are ready to kill them in hundreds and thousands, but also they provoke various ethnical cleansing. YouTube, it's not me speaking about that. It's Putin who is doing that. Mobilizing people from Siberia, mobilizing people from Far East, not supplying them with the things they need, sending them to real meat grinders when the only plan and the only tactic is that we have more people. So one day Ukraine will die out and we will still have more and more bodies to send. So it's all very tragic. Good news that there is a new battalion forming inside Ukraine out of Russians from these regions, like even Buryats and people from Siberia, and the battalion is entitled Siberia. Let me know, would you like a video on that? Because that's an interesting tendency. Of course, there are not many people, but they are coming. Thank you so much for being normal, for being democratic, for being freedom-loving. We have to stand united. Please help the channel remain healthy because comments disappear, even my own. Thank you for buying me coffees. I have one right now. Thank you for becoming my patrons. We have a very beautiful merch shop where we have sweatshirts, caps, cold and warm weather clothes that work as conversation starters. And as attention is shifted a little bit, we do need more positive provocations. So check our merch. The link is in the description of this video. I'm active on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter, and we have a Discord community. Please join. We have to stay united. Perhaps it's the fifth time I repeat it during today's video, but that's exactly what I mean. Slava Ukraini!